Hello, everyone. My name is Kulsoom Khan. I am the Senior Regional Director for Asia with the Global Fund for Children. Welcome to Shifting the Power in MEL, NGOs and Communities Take Ownership of MEL, a webinar co-hosted by the Sri Lanka Evaluation Association and the Asia Pacific Evaluation Association in partnership with Global Fund for Children today. Before we get started, a few reminders for the audience. Please keep your mic on mute and your video off to lessen the load on your internet bandwidth. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat. There will also be a Q&A for all speakers at the end of the session. As we start, I would like to invite you to please feel free to share your name, where you are joining us from, and if you feel comfortable sharing one or two words that come to your mind when you think about ownership in MEL. And if you can add that to the chat box as we get started, that would be fantastic. Now, I would like to invite Amol Shaila Suresh, who is the co-leader from EvalYouth Asia, to share some opening remarks.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Amol. I'm co-leader of EvalYouth Asia, and I'm really excited and looking forward to the discussion that today we are going to listen to. If we look at today's topic of discussion, it's really interesting, like shifting the power in monitoring, evaluation, and learning. When we say shifting the power, it's a political process, basically. When I say political process, I do not mean the politics in usual sense, but we are talking about shifting of power from point A to point B, and usually it's the case that shifting of power is always faced with resistance from the entity who is holding the power, right? So who holds the power today in monitoring and evaluation? So we have some idea of the funding organization, right? Sometimes it's a conditional grant on the terms of doing XYZ intervention without taking into consideration of local needs. Not always, but might be the case. Then second, if it's a program where government is involved, then government has some say and power to dictate the terms. Then there are fancy research organizations who are doing research and evaluating these programs, and later on going to publish some academic work out of it. They have some power over the program and how things will work. However, today we will be kind of challenging the very idea of this power residing in these entities, which are located far away from the issue, from the problem, geographically as well as metaphorically. We will be discussing that the power of monitoring, evaluation, and learning should be shifted from these entities to grassroots NGOs who actually implement the program on the ground, and most importantly to the communities. As we all know, there is a lot of work going on in empowering communities, and particularly in our case, participatory monitoring and evaluation. Today we have with us on panel people from 3 different organizations who have empowered communities to solve their own problems, and we are going to listen to their first-hand experiences, how they have empowered the empowered the communities, and how they have exercised this power to drive the social change on the ground through community empowerment, and make this case that is in discussion more stronger, that why this shift of power is important. So without further ado, I welcome all and hand over mic to Kulsoom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amol. Important points on MEL and its intersection with power. As you mentioned, we will hear about how our speakers are shifting this in their context. And a very warm welcome to our speakers today who are representing 3 Global Fund for Children partners from India. We have Avani, Faith Foundation, and Rural Aid, who have been in a learning journey over the past 4 years with Global Fund for Children. We are grateful for their time today. And welcome to all the people joining today to listen, appreciate, learn, and share from their experience as well. We are excited to have an impressive lineup of experts, as Amol mentioned. We are starting with Peacefully Marsharing, who is a program officer with Faith Foundation in Shillong. We'll be followed by Dhiraj Lepcha, who is the project coordinator with Rural Aid in North 24 Parganas. We'll be followed by Anuradha Bhosale, the chairperson of Avani in Kolhapur and chairperson of Ekati Women's Organization. Who will be followed by Vikrant Jadhav, is the project coordinator with Avani. And finally, Ribansing Nongbsap, who is the community facilitator with Faith Foundation in Shillong. So as you may have gathered, our speakers are working in very unique and engaging contexts and communities, engaging communities, children, and young people as participants in knowledge gathering, in learning, in reflection and dissemination. As I mentioned, they are all partners with the Global Fund for Children. By way of introduction, Global Fund for Children partners with locally led and community-driven organizations that are working to create a world where all children are safe, strong, and valued. Our work is centered on building trust-based relationships with our partners and on shifting the power from funders to community-based organizations and to the communities themselves, especially children and youth. In addition to multi-year flexible grants, which we believe are core to building trust, we listen deeply to our partners about what they need and apply their feedback and ideas to how we support them. We've been in this journey for the last 25 years, and we've learned the importance of facilitating and creating brave spaces for learning in order to shift the power to the partners among their teams and to encourage the same for our partners' work in their communities. And when we think about the term communities, that can take various forms and definitions depending on context. But when we speak about communities in this session today, we are referring to people who are affected by social issues and have lived experience in the spaces, issues, locations where our partners are trying to create lasting positive change, especially children and youth. We are extremely grateful to have funders and supporters who have actually given us the opportunity to apply a participatory lens to our work in India, to try and shift power using a multi-layer approach through MEL initially, while recognizing that participation doesn't stop at MEL. It doesn't stand by itself. It is part of community ownership and a strategy for transformative change. We believe participatory approaches which will give decision-making power to the community are key to transformative change. As someone who has worked in the nonprofit sector for 14 years, community-owned change is near to my heart. It is also one of GFC's guiding stars in our emerging new strategy, and therefore, it is a key piece of our work moving forward. Community-owned MEL, however, was a new approach for me, and one where I had to unlearn a lot and let go of assumptions in order to learn something new with the calm guidance of my colleague Ritu Binanda, who is here today as well. I therefore have a lot of respect for our speakers and their courage in applying new methodologies to their work in already challenging environments and circumstances. When I use the word courage, it is because participating in this change, learning from it and applying it to our work requires being adaptive in an environment that is complex and fluid. It is not as comfortable as creating and following a log frame, and no offense to log frames, which serve their purpose, but when we work in such a rapidly changing world, we need emergent and evolving approaches focused on reflection and learning. At all points of our learning cycle, we need to ask, who is this for? What is it for? This also changes our understanding of accountability. We ask, who are we accountable to for our work? Is it the funder? Is it the CEO of our organization? Is it the board, the village leader, the students? And then what does sustainability look like if we view it from the lens of community ownership? How do we make sense of this ongoing learning? How do we share it and with whom? I am asking these questions as someone who is learning from our partners, but our speakers today have actually applied the SALT, which is stimulate, appreciate, learn, and transfer approach to community mobilization and to the community life competence process to see community learning and ownership in action. Some have undergone organizational changes and shifts as a result of applying SALT to their work. Some have experienced the most significant change methodology and use that to adapt their work. And we are very, very grateful to hear from a youth participant today as well about how they've seen action by their peers as a result of their community facilitation. So now enough of listening to me, we listen to our speakers. First up, we have Peacefully Marsharing from Faith Foundation. Faith Foundation works to ensure the safety of children and adolescents in Shillong, Meghalaya. Faith Foundation has been applying the community life competence process at their organization. So Peacefully, the ownership approach was new to you at Faith Foundation. Can you share what did you learn from moving from traditional MEL to participatory MEL? What was exciting about participatory MEL, and what were some of your challenges in doing dream building and some highlights from your self-assessment?
Okay, thank you so much, Kulsoom, for the introduction. And yeah, my name is Peacefully Marsharing, and I'm working in Faith Foundation as a program officer. So based in Meghalaya, India, Faith Foundation is a child rights organization, and we are a very young organization that is also very open to learning. So before I go forward and speak to you about traditional MEL and to the participatory MEL, let me just introduce to you what is the community life competence process. So Faith Foundation was introduced to the CLCP process in the year 2020 by one of the facilitator from the Global Fund for Children. And we know that CLCP framework, it is a strength-based learning cycle to direct and monitor the success of the organization. So as you can see here in this slide, let me introduce you the steps one after another. So the community life competence process is the approach that has been designed to engage community ownership for the development challenges. So the idea of community life competence process is that how organization take ownership of the challenges. So by taking ownership, it means that we take action to the developmental challenges. And when we take ownership, that means we take action and we also overcome challenges. So when you look at the slide, there are about 6 steps. So step 1 is who are we and who will join. So let me give you a very brief information about this. And as you can see here, that step 1 talks about the very important question. Mostly it's about what are our strengths, and what are the hopes and concerns towards children and community that we are working with. And the second step is that how does CLCP defines the current position of the organization? Where are we presently at? So this talks about the second step. So the third step talks about creating the current position where we are at, and creating the self-assessment, wherein we see what are our goals and what are the challenges that we see. At the same time, we also look at the action plan that we want to move from the current situation to its desired situation. So when you look at the step 4, we see that step 4 carries out its action. Once we have put down some of the practices in the self-assessment, we ensure that we see what are the situation that we are in. Then we look at the action plan. That is when we put down our action plan that we want to achieve. So step 5 talks about it reflects on the progress that it has been made to prepare for the next cycle. And for the step 6 is about how as an organization we sit together, or maybe if we are doing it with the community, we sit together, we learn, and then we prepare for the next practice that we want to do. Yeah, so for us as a team of Faith Foundation, we are applying the CLCP to ourselves and to a team before starting it with the community. We strengthen ourselves as a team to become a facilitating organization. Part of this process, we check and assess ourselves where we are with and where we want to achieve. So we are still in a very long way to achieve as an organization, but we make sure that we take one step at a time. So I just want to share with you that last year when the pandemic hit, our programs in schools and communities came to on hold, and we could not go about the program that we usually go. So we feel very uneasy, and because we were used to going to the schools and communities that we are working with. This is when we realized that we can't be everywhere, but it is very important that we build community ownership in the communities that we are working with. Not that our communities don't take action, but it's like, how can we let go of the community to take their own steps and action towards any issues that they are facing in the community. So the pandemic last year served as an opportunity for us as a team to revisit our work and our program, and this is how we were introduced to the CLCP. So for us, the dream building exercise helped us channelize our thoughts and ideas, what we want for our children and what we want for our community. It helped us gain clarity of our work. Another thing is that we developed a common dream, which reflected our aspiration and goals, and we would like to achieve as individual and as a team. So the beautiful part about the CLCP is that it's not only the dream of the head of the organization, but it is a collective dream of the entire team, and how we as a team take ownership of the kind of work that we are doing. So can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so let me just start by sharing a very brief about the dream building of the organization. So a dream you dream alone is only a dream you dream together is reality. Like I've already mentioned, that it is a dream that has been weaved by the entire team. So for us, as an organization, we dream very briefly, we dream that children have a positive and a very healthy environment, positive and a nurturing environment for the children. And also we dream that community breaks taboo, and how they can address issues, especially issues on child sexual abuse or any other teenage pregnancy and other issue, other manifestation of gender-based violence. So we dream that community are self-reliance. They can take a local solution on the pressing issues that they see in and around the community. So we also dream that that youth in the community take leadership to address issues, to speak up and be assertive, so that a youth in the community can be agent of change. So this is a dream of that we've weaved together as a team. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is the self-assessment framework that was done as the team. You can see here that this is the framework. This is the practices. So there were about 12 practices that has been emerged from the dream. The dream was being made by the team itself, and from the dream there are about 12 practices that were able to emerge, that has been emerged. And as you can see from the first slide, it talks about we facilitate and the community takes the wheel. So basically what self-assessment is about is that we look at each practices that the organization is doing. So like I've mentioned, that we would like community ownership to introduce in the community. And the self-assessment is basically how do we assess and how do we see ourselves, where do we stand. So when you look at the self-assessment, when you look at the slide, there are about 5 levels. So for example, if I take one practice from our dream, the first practice is we facilitate and the community takes the wheel, and we see where do we where do we stand. So there are about 5 levels, which means that the first level is the highest level and the level 1 is the lowest level. So we rate ourselves based on these levels, and not that one team member decide on where we stand based on these practices, but we ensure that each and every team members have a say on these practices. And we can also disagree with the team members if we wish to, but at the end of the day we feel that we have to come to an agreement. and that is how that is how we come to an agreement to the level that we are. So like I've mentioned earlier, that there is an action plan as well. So based on the practices, we choose which are the practices that we would like to work on first. So maybe as a team, we would select 2 to 3 practices that we would like to achieve in the next 3 months, and this is how our action plan um, take us forward. Yeah, so we see, just to share with you, yes, the next slide is about the first practice that we see. So for the team, the organization, for the team of Faith Foundation, we've done the self-assessment since the year 2020 during the pandemic, and we started in the year in the month of December. And in the month of December, we realized that when we look at this practice, we see that we are still in level 3, and we've not seen any progress because, like I've mentioned, that there was no other programs that we were able to engage, and we feel that we are still in level 3 and we're not moving anywhere because we have other projects and we are not fully engaged in community work. And then for the next assessment, that happens in the month of April 2022. Here we've seen some progress wherein the women in the community, as you can see in this picture, have organized program, Women's Day program on their own. We were not the one organizing, but the women themselves from the community, as you can see in the picture, they are the one who organized programs. They took the leadership in planning the entire event, from organizing to inviting guests, and we were just guests in the program. As you can see, we were just guests and we were sitting behind the program and letting the entire woman to run the program, and the program went on very successfully. So yeah, in August 2021, we had our third self-assessment. That is how we assess ourselves. And yes, we rated ourselves as level 4 because we feel besides women taking initiative, there are even youth who have taken initiative. We've seen that GFC, one of the examples that GFC has initiated one of the program on the training on how to prevent COVID, and that is how we mobilize youth in the community. And few youths that we were able to mobilize then invited other youths, and there were about 80 youths who have engaged in the training programs that we had. And we've seen that 2 youths from the community has also been part of the Asia Pacific Regional Evaluation Association. They've taken action, and some of the youth have also did a silent theater on the findings of one of the research that Faith Foundation is doing in the year 2021. And at the same time, Faith Foundation were able to launch one of the youth fellowship program, and there were about 8 youths who have been engaged with the youth fellowship program. And there is when they've started taking action in the pressing issue which are there in the community. And in the month of February 2022, we had our 4th self-assessment, wherein women have started inviting the team of Faith Foundation to come forward and take sessions, to sit for meetings, to take sessions for the community, to meet the community and have important dialogues on how to eradicate issues, like not eradicate, but how to prevent issues like teenage pregnancy and other social issues which are in the community. We realize that women not only, what we see taking ownership is when women have started to speak up and share about the kind of work, share that they have hopes and concern on children that they are in the community, they have in the community. So for the last self-assessment we had was in the month of May 2022, wherein we've seen youth taking leadership in organizing program, inviting other youths to programs like Women's Day program, and taking action wherein maybe Ribansing, who will be presenting now, will be sharing some of the examples of some of the action that the youth has been taking. So coming to the question of what Kulsoom had asked is about what exciting us from a transformation from traditional MEL to a participatory MEL. I feel like the participative MEL allow us to evaluate ourselves as an organization. I feel that the entire process of MEL enables us to identify our strength and the area of improvement that we need to see. Based on those action plans, we were able to step one at a time and see where do we achieve, where do we lag, and based on that, we were able to see progress. And we also came to a realization that the action plan clarifies our work that lies ahead of us and provide us with a clearer view of actions plan progress while directing us to take action. It also give us a chance to move forward with our activities and programs in accordance with the skills and resources of the team. And the participatory MEL also, we've seen that there's a quality of our work, and through the quality of our work, we were able to contribute to the stakeholders that we are working with. And the participatory MEL facilitate engagement, learning, assessment, reflection processes. This engagement provides facilitators from Global Fund for Children with a clearer and better understanding of partners like us, a young organization, as well as the challenges and the accomplishment that we have experienced as an organization. As you know that the funders are very flexible with us, and due to the pandemic, there is a lot of transition of work. We shift from offline programs to online presence, and that's how flexible the funding agencies are. And yeah, so some of the challenges that we were able to, while using participatory MEL, is that yes, as an organization, we have team members who'd been here since the first day where we introduced CLCP, but at the same time, with few months that has been passed, there are team members who has been resigned from the team. So it's very difficult to incorporate new people coming in. And at the same time, another challenges is that we're not able to quantify our work. Not that we're not able, but it's also very important that how do we quantify our work. And I think these are some of the challenges that we see, but I think the CLCP process, the participatory MEL is an utmost important for each and every one of us. So I think that is my presentation. If you have any question, then we can, yeah, towards the end of the session, you can ask question. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Peacefully, for the great overview of CLCP and Faith Foundation's experience with it, and for sharing really very openly your self-assessment with us. To just highlight a few key points, the importance to have a strength-based approach, looking at the success of organizations and creating a shared dream to create ownership of change and inspire action. I really appreciate your highlighting that NGOs can't be everywhere, so communities have to take ownership, and therefore it is important for organizations to let go. And at that point, it is critical for NGOs to become facilitators so that communities can take the wheel. I also really appreciated your highlighting an important challenge, which I believe many organizations face, which is staff turnover and training, and how that impacts ongoing work when you start an important process like the community life competence process. And I think that might resonate with quite a few people that are on this call as well. So thank you so much for your honesty. Thank you so much for sharing peacefully. And I think it is a great segue to our next speaker, who will speak about his experience in engaging the community. Dhiraj is from Rural Aid, which empowers people employed by the tea industry in West Bengal to advocate for their rights while also providing their children with critical support to prevent child exploitation, trafficking, and abuse. So Rural Aid has been applying the community life competence process methodology to its work in the tea gardens of West Bengal. Dhiraj, can you tell us a little bit about what is SALT and some of the ways you have applied SALT and CLCP to engage youth and multiple community populations?
Thank you so much, thank you so much, Kulsoom, for the introductions. Here, I'm just presenting myself, like mixing with the community about the SALT, mixing with the community, just like the SALT. As we all know that the SALT component is built with like sharing, stimulating, appreciate, listening, learning, and link with the teamwork. And here in presentations, I just want to highlight what is the SALT about means. Is the one is to know the pulse of the community, the inner strength, and the dreams. Currently, if you see the scenario of a community, NGOs and governments, community believe that the NGOs and government will solve their problem. They believe that their community, NGOs and government will solve their problems, and they never know they can do they can solve their problem by themselves. But when we do our solve to the community, they realize their strength, and they also realize the strength, and also they feel that they can solve their problem by themselves. And number two is a mixing with the community, just like a SALT. We have built these quotations, like we have mentioned these quotations, like SALT is like mixing with the community itself. Because if you mix with the community, you know the different tastes of a community, and we know the different strength of a community, and it gives a enhance to the ownership of a community. And from the SALT, both changes, community as well as the NGO facilitators. When both community and facilitators changes, they realize their changes. They realize their strength and qualities. When they realize their strength and quality, they naturally change. Change of their work, change of their thoughts of doing work, change of thoughts and doing work, and appreciate each other's, listening more, and work as a team from the SALT. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, for us, like SALT, for us, before SALT, for us as a rural team, before SALT, we went to the community as a teachers and telling them what is good for them, and we also do as monitors work, like awareness, like using the models or all these things. And even number two, even the when you call to the community for the community meeting, we won't get any response from the community. Even the participant will get even a less participant community. And sometimes communities know their issues but did not share the issues. And before the SALT, there was no any dream for the community, and no action led by the community. And when we did the SALT, and after the SALT, we became as from teachers to the facilitators, starting listening to the communities, and starting building the capacity of communities, and also we start focusing the goals of communities rather than our own goals or organizational goals. Regularly we reflections in our team and improve our communications. This is before and after the SALT we have done. Okay, next slide, please. A result of a SALT facilitation. When we did the SALT facilitating to communities, it helped the individuals, communities, and members to realize their own strength, as well as appreciate. They also appreciate each other's. Okay, as a example, so one of the in our assessment, in our community assessment, one of the youth who is on disabilities, he was appreciated by the community for the first time because he was doing he was doing the social work with disabilities, and he was appreciated by the community in the meeting. And from the SALT facilitation, it built a unity in communities, because Before the SLEvA, there were no communities where there were no communities came to meet each other's. Or there are rare had the community, they have a rare communication set, and from this SLEvA, it gives a platform for the community for the discussions of their problems, how to solve their problems, how to make an action plans. This is the result of a SLEvA for the community, and it builds the unity in the communities. The parents have begun to encourage their child to attend the adolescent children's group meeting, and even here, even the NGOs and community, they build a relationship, a strong relationship with the community, and the community now they are sharing their personal issues to the community as well as with NGOs. This is because of what solved. And also communities they are making their own taking the responsibility and arrange the meetings. Next slide, please. Here is a dream building we have done in the community. Here the community they are preparing for the dream for the self-assessment. I want to go for the next slide. Tea Gardens community self-assessment of its dream. So why we are doing why we are doing why we are doing salt in tea gardens is what is the value of the salt in tea garden is because the community should have to realize, should have to self-analyze and self-reflection for the change, self-reflection for the change, and it also helps to promote them to think the community to come up with innovative ideas. When we are doing a self-assessment during the community, it will help the community to think more and more the innovative action. They will share the innovative action for the actions in dream, and also next is also encourage them to take an action. Next slide, please. From the self-assessment, community has led some actions like a youth and community work together to get 150 disability certificates after the self-assessment. They have took some actions, and also few parents took action on child protection system. They enroll the two vulnerable children in the schools, which will prevent them from trafficking and child labors as well as child labors. And also communities also lead in action on action on stopping the stop the gambling and playing cards at ICT centers, where the group of women they have took some actions. And also community organizes a cycle daily against the child labor day from the assessment, from the actions plan, and also for reducing the child or reducing the online games or the addiction of the online games. The community has taken action for the outdoor drawing painting competition to reduce the child online games. Next slide, please. These are all the actions led by the community. So here is a youth reflects after the self-discipline. When here is a guy who is disability. What he said is to solve the community issues. The community has to come forward by themselves. NGOs are only the way to show the way. And before changing the community, we need to change ourselves. This is the quotation. This is the line shared by the persons who is from the community youth. Okay, next slide, please. I'm just going fast because of time. The challenges we have is the main challenges when we did to solve is like it takes a lot of time for the community ownership, because both community and NGOs are unlearning because of unlearning, and we depend outsiders. We depend on depending on the outsiders, and it takes a lot of time for the community to take an ownership. And as well as the next challenges is the pressure of others projects, which are the top down, because of due to the others project in NGOs, it is get more challenges to complete the solve or do self-assessment for the communities. And different next challenges is a different category of populations group, like indigenous, Nepalis, minority religions with the different issues take a time to bring them together. This is because we are working with the tribal communities and Nepalese communities and minority religions. They are different. They have a different issues, and to bring them in one together in one platform is very difficult to bring. It's very difficult for us, and also as well as also challenges for us. And the main challenges is an adult men who are not easily get engaged in the self-assessment when you compare to the male youth, because adult men they were as they are the tea garden workers, so they have to go for the tea garden works, and or some of the they have to go for the out of sales for the work. So it's very hard and challenges to get to engage the adult men for the community self-assessment, and as well as for the salt also, and the limited time for the community. As we know, there is a limited time for the community, because communities doesn't give a lot of time, because as I said, there are a lot of communities who are tea garden workers. They have to give the time for the work, so we get limited time for the community, or limited time for the self-assessment of the salt. So these are the challenges we get. So over to Kulsoom. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please ask in last session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dhiraj. I really appreciate your sharing how SALT allows you to get the pulse of your community and their strengths and their dreams, and that appreciating strengths inspires community to take action. I also really appreciate your sharing that you went from being teachers to becoming facilitators, and we can really see the power shift even in that brief statement that you said. And I think it's just very important to tease out that trust is built between organizations and the community as a result of this approach. Your challenges also really resonated, especially how do you balance different kinds of fundings and projects that might have a more top-down approach with community-owned processes, along with time constraints and the day-to-day work that organizations are doing. So thank you so much for this great sharing. And just moving on to Anuradha. So Avani has been working in Kolhapur to support children who are at risk of being trafficked for forced labor or commercial sexual exploitation for a little over 20 years now. Your organization underwent a most significant change methodology recently to assess Avani's gender equality program. So Anuradha, can you share what prompted or convinced you to rethink your project? Excuse me, and what are some of the learnings from your most significant change process?
Hi everyone. Avani has been partnering with GFC since last 4 years, and there are so many significant learning that has taken place since we are partnering with GFC. What I learned, like trustship in between funding organization and partners is more important. And we always felt very comfortable with GFC because they trust in our abilities, knowledge, methodologies, and like what we do. And as far as I know that nothing is imposed to us, that this is the plan and you need to follow this plan. That's why, Avani always felt very comfortable to share different stories, different successes, also failures with GFC coordinators and those who are responsible for helping us out, the facilitators. I would like to give you an example that Avani had a very specific model when we were working on gender equality program. We had 16-week syllabus, and we were running those syllabuses in the schools. We had a specific model how to go ahead, how to implement that. And as we were working in one village on that model in a school, like we had completed almost like 11 to 12 weeks. And all of a sudden we realized that some of the adolescent girls and boys with whom we were working in the school and the community they were going from, one of the girl got at the early age, at the age of 13, she got married off. And then it was like shocking for us. And when we went in the community, and we started working with the parents and all, they started quarreling with us. They said, you all guys don't tell us, we know what to do, this is our tradition and all. And it was very frustrating for us that we are working here since last 2.5 years and these people are not listening. Why should we work in this community? And then we realized that, then there is something wrong, what we are working. And we need to check out our process and our methods of work. And then I felt like we talked with the group, and then we decided to share that with Ritu, and we were very open. We didn't feel like hiding, this was thing, and how can we face the community? How can we talk this even to our funder? But then we felt that it was very important to share with us that what went wrong and what was our challenge and what it could have been done. So when we talked with Ritu came up with a lot of good ideas, and she introduced a salt technique with us, and she said we'll have to learn and we have to analyze how our approach should have been. So we need to go back in the community, don't work in isolation in the school and in pocket, but go back in the community. And then there the team learned the community-led action. And today in that community where our program was shut down, the community went against us. Today that whole community has come together with once we started integrating with the SALT approach. The community is taking a lot of initiative, and some of 3 child marriages were stopped by the adolescent girls and boys from that community after 7-8 months. So I felt it was very powerful tools which was introduced to us by GFC. And what I feel very proud to tell that mostly Avni also worked with some other partners, and these partners, like sometimes we are under pressure, and we have to complete the report. We have to show always the success. We cannot tell what went wrong. But here with GFC, I always felt very comfortable to share that yes, we cannot work on these. These are the issues. It's not the result is not coming proper out of what we are doing. So we felt very comfortable. So that's I felt very good. So even I feel that GFC has shifted that power to partners. What you feel, the methods and the flexibility. If you feel that your methods were different, you need to go in appropriate way. So you test out and understand, and you go ahead. They give us very valuable inputs in that. So I felt extremely I'm very comfortable, and I'm very happy the way it has turned. And then immediately I introduced this technique to many of our project holders, and a lot of changes have come in our methods of our work. I would like to share another story. We are working for the upliftment of waste speakers, those who are working in unclean sector, and unfortunately they deal with so much of poverty. These children are school dropout, child labors and all. So one of the waste speakers in the community, and once my team learned the SALT approach, our attitude has changed totally. So when the meeting was conducted in the community, the woman earlier, she was totally against us. With the SALT approach, this woman came up to us and she said, from today I'm going to join this work. I will do my way speaking, but I would like to be a leader, and I would like to lead the community and take up my community's issues, and I want to work for these issues, for myself. What I learned from these meetings now, I'm going to go ahead. It was so powerful. And then we had one meetings after that, cadres meeting. These women, she spent 200 rupees from her pocket. Now 200 rupees is her daily, her living is hand to mouth. She earns 200 rupees per day, but she spent on rickshaw, on auto, just to reach in the meeting hall. So she took the action. She was excited. She took the action, and she wanted to be part of this, that she can go back and work in the community. So the powerfulness of the transformation happened in this woman. I could see that visually, and earlier she was more troublesome. Because of her, we wanted to leave that community, because she was very arrogant, and she would not let us sit in the community. She would create a lot of issues. But with the approach, everything changed, and now she's a leader. And she did one thing. Her daughter was a child labor. She was picking up the waste on the street. Immediately in next meeting, she got her daughter a bag full of clothes, and she walked to our institution. She said, from today onwards, my daughter is not going to be a child labor. She is going to study here in Avni institution. And she kept her here with us. She said, I have understood the importance of education. So I feel it's so powerful, and most important that what we felt very comfortable with GFC, that we are given very vital inputs, but we are never told what to do. They make us understand, see what the community needs, and how you can work with community, and how you can shift that power, and how the community can participate and take the ownership. And I'm very happy that my team, like Ritu was very instrumental to develop that, my whole team. And this team, they keep on writing blogs on different tools they have used while working with the in different villages. The outcome they see, and I feel tremendous changes in my team's approach, in the communities, and the outcome we see visually. So these are the things that if the funder organization, if they give you flexibility, and if they believe in your capacity, in your methodology, and they allow you to be open, because we feel very comfortable to share our failures with GFC. I directly say, yeah, this has happened, and we cannot work on that. These are the things, mostly it becomes difficult for us to share with our other partners. But with GFC, I'm really talking from the truth, and from my bottom of my heart, that what I feel about this. So I'm very always excited to learn more. And I'm very happy that I'm invited here to discuss and give the testimony of the work and the successes, what we have come across. So if you have any question, you can definitely ask me about what I talked.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you so much for sharing your relationship with GFC, the importance of being comfortable sharing successes, failures, challenges, and that being the impetus for more learning and change and development. I also really appreciated these very powerful examples of community ownership from adolescent girls and boys, as well as young women. And the work that has happened in shifting power to communities, but also shifting power within the organization, within the Avani team, as a result of your engagement with SALT and with this most significant change process. And this is a great segue and connection to our next speaker, who is Vikrant, and who works at Avani. Vikrant, your work at Avani involves deep engagement with community members on gender equality. So can you share the challenges of facilitating a community response to gender issues. How did your program change as a result of facilitation rather than information provision?
Hello, I am Vikrant, coordinator of the Gender Equality Project with GFC. We started with providing modules on gender equality in school and slums in Kolhapur, Avni. When we realized the we we were not getting the kind of results we wanted to, were looking for an approaches where youth and parents could lead the changes. Then we started SWOT approach. We wanted to move up the ladder of participation from information provision to community and youth ownership. Second, next, when we started SWOT conversation in Nandwal village, it was strange. It felt uneasy, and I was not interested in SWOT. It was very hard module, were very easy for me. I got I got read in gender equality modules and had to deliver information about gender equality through games and information to children. Once you learn and practice, you just have to go and deliver. In short, I I had to listen, create a safe space, appreciate and encourage people to share their stories. Communities in the beginning responded. Why did outsider went to listen to them? I tried go to back to the original approaches of module, but my team wanted to continue with salt. So I tried salt again. I went with my team to the village and observed them facilitating the salt approach. I took notes. I tried short conversation with my family. Soon I family. Soon I started learning how to facilitate. I asked my team members to give me feedback. Now I feel very confident. We started appreciative appreciative to conversation I in the village. We had experience of the people. The people said that no outsider had shown interest in them, in what they had done. Through listening. We observed that there is a lot of capacity in the people. Community members, particularly women who have been through very difficult lives, have discovered the power within them. Results have been very positive when the listen and appreciate. People have started to connect with us. They share their pains and struggle, and they are recognize the importance of addressing gender equality in their village. Next, short conversation build only team facilitation skill and help in facilitating self-assessment. Village Dream was prepared with the people of the village, boys, girls, youth, older men and women, grandmother and mothers got together to develop a dream for gender equality in their village. They said that women and men should get equal rights in our village. Young boys and girls should take leadership in the village. No woman or girl should be harassed in our village. That's why we will raise our voice. Our village should be gender equitable. All all the men of our village should participate as much as possible. Next, Then this group of people conducted a self-assessment of their dream in May 2022. The group rated their village very low in practices on gender equality. They made a plan to address gender equality. Next, women have started negotiating with their husbands and families for mobility. A woman said that after 15 years of marriage, she traveled to nearby city for the first time without an adult male. We have example of, of effective women and community response to gender-based violence. Grandfathers rec- recognize the need to work on gender equality. Adolescent boys and girls said that they will involve others in the conversation on gender equality. We tried them to have short conversation with their fathers. We are supporting them to do this. We have also faced the blackish backlash from a powerful men who do not want women to have a voice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vikrant, so much for sharing from your experience with great community engagement. A few key learnings here is, trying new approaches for community ownership and engagement takes someone learning, as you mentioned, and being comfortable with uncertainty. And facilitation is a key skill which requires time and support in order to build confidence, as Vikrant wonderfully shared. And thank you also for sharing this very thoughtful and strategic process, which ensures community members are at the center of the change. And these changes that you mentioned are around mindset shift, Vikrant, which is not a small shift at all. So finally, speaking of community, and last but not the least, Riban has been a youth community facilitator with Faith Foundation. Riban, along with other young people in his community, disseminated the root cause study findings through silent theater. They also facilitated a self-assessment of the community dream in Ribhoi district. So Riban, what inspired you to facilitate self-assessments in your village? And can you share some examples of action by young people?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ribansing Nongbsap. I currently work with Faith Foundation as a community facilitator. I just want to share that we as a youth from the community take an ownership because one of the organization, Faith Foundation, encourage us to move or to keep forward. And firstly, I just want to share about the first thing that we as a youth from the community, we share about the dissemination on the findings of the study on the teenage pregnancy which was done by the Faith Foundation. The silent theater was planned by the youth of the community after Faith Foundation want to share the findings to the community. The youth from three communities, that is from SLEvA village, Saryang village, and Umkti village, decide to present and to disseminate the study through the silent theater. We share this silent theater in three parts. The first part is in the topic of lack of parental guidance. I can share some of the story. In this lack of parental guidance, we share that one of a girl who is being spoiled by her parent, who fulfill her every wish. But after some time, the girl want a mobile phone. Then parent also fulfill her every wish. Then through social media, this child really had time to conversation with parent and was engaged with her phone every time. And also through social media, he has also had befriended with a boy, and after that did with him. After a month, this girl pregnant. After the after pregnant, everything went well between the youth parent, and there were after some time there were after some year there was visible crack in the relationship when the father refused to take responsible to fulfill the family needs. And the second part is lack of knowledge of sexual reproductive health. In this story, we share about one of a girl who has experienced with a change in her body. But after when he has a fast menstruation, her mother uh, who told her to keep a distance from a male friends, then which left this child in confused. Um, After this, after some time also after some days, this child also attend a school which teach the topic about sexual reproductive health. The teacher also skipped the topic, which more kept this child in confused. After some time, this child in order to get clarity about her doubt, then asked information from her friend through the internet. She also received much information what was she supposed to have. Then she curiously made her experiment with what she was engaged in a physical relationship. Then the last part about the theater is that to support a supportive environment. We present this supportive environment that in her families they get well conversation about sexual reproductive health, and also from the community workers like Asha and Ganwadi also let disseminate information to the general public. And this is a three part that we the youth disseminate the findings on the teenage pregnancy to the community. And we also get the feedback from the communities after we perform the silent theater. We were we received with our positive feedback, wherein one of the invitees shared that the play has say that a play has given a lot of insight on the family and relationship. And some some of them also share that parent that it is important to maintain a friendly relationship and spend more time with their children. Some also share that the theater left a lasting impression on parents that there is a need to be aware of their children daily activities, that their daily activities and the environment they are in. And also share that through the skit also help bring in so much clarity and stress the importance on holding such awareness. This is a feedback that we have gotten from the theater. And also the same time.
Riban, I think you put yourself on mute. Go ahead, Riban.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you, but you're putting yourself on mute.
That we get from the community.
Riban, unfortunately, we can't hear you. You're putting yourself on mute. So if you can unmute yourself and share, that would be fantastic.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, that is all about the feedback we get from the community. Next slide, please. This is a photograph that we as a youth challenge them. The youth from the community form as a challenge them. Challenge them in English, it is a Khasi word which means the wheels. Why we say challenge them also because we the youth want to continue take an ownership and a leadership in the community. The Shalantim Youth Fellowship, we has 8 members from 3 communities. Then the youth challenge them before we came as a group. We have an individual dream about our communities, how to bring change in our communities. Then after we get in together, we can share an individual dream, each one of us. Then we came up with a common dream as a youth fellows. And some of the hello.
Yes, go ahead, Riban.
Oh yeah. Some of our common dream are to provide children a safe environment which are free from any kind of abuse, and also children to get a quality education which is less from dropout or from school dropout. We dream about the youth to be humble and patient, and to work towards addressing social issue in their communities. And also the one dream that we as a challenge team we have is to prevent and address issue concerning on teenage pregnancy. This is all the dream that we as a challenge team has. Next slide, please. This is a photo that we address as a common dream of a youth challenge them. Next slide, please. Through our common dream, we came up. Through our common dream, we came up with a practice that we. Sorry, this is a practice that we emerged from the common dream. As you see from the practices, there are 10 practices that we as a youth challenge youth of the community has. But when we see the past practice that we build good relationship with Asia for obtaining information about children at the community. We read as we stand at a level 3. Level 3 state that we act sometime in some action. Why we read our self-assessment in why we rate self-assessment in the fast practices in level 3 is that where we as a youth challenge them, we mainly focus with children. Then when we work with the children, we have to know when we have to work together with community workers so that we know about the children in the community, and also we know about the health of the community. Then all the practices we stand at the level 2 is that we have practiced it, but we have not do something. Next slide, please. This is one of the action that we as the youth of the communities have take part. This is a photograph that we as a youth have a meeting with have a dream building with a women in the community. Through this dream building, we came to know about one of the cases that one of the women shared that her child refused to go to school, and she shared us that her siblings and her husband tried to make the child understand to go for school, but he refused it. Next slide, please. This is a home photograph, a home visit that we as a youth challenge them thing. This is a one first one is identifying and motivating a child to go back to school. From the previous slide, we say about through the dream building, one of the women shared that her child had refused to go to school, and this is a fast action. We as a youth challenge them take action. We as a youth challenge them along with the youth wings in the community. We go and have a home visit to encourage and to motivate a child for continuing to school. After we make her understand about the importance of education, but actually we face a lot of difficulties how to make them understand, because he is only a child. But it took us quite some time to make them to make her understand. But after we have a conversation, she agreed to continue again, continue for going to school. Then after we she agreed to continue for school, we as the youth we as the youth contact with Faith Foundation. Then after we have a conversation with our team, then we have a conversation with the headmaster of the school. After we have conversation with school, then she admit and continuing for going to school. And the number 2, social support, personal with disability. In this social support, we have 2 person with a disability, and one person is that was accused of person disability, a male youth who had left a village which he had some quarrel with one woman in the community, in which he snatched her phone and throw it on the ground. Because he is a disability person. Whenever this woman look at her, she feel disappointed. Then the male youth was the male youth was even threatened and get threatened. Then after the male snatched her phone and threw it on the ground, the woman was upset and she complained to the local institution, in which the male youth had to face a trial with them explaining the situation and to pay for the fine. When the after then this the male youth was even threatened and get threatened. Then after he get threatened, he left the village. When this situation came, we as the youth came to know about this situation. We the youth from the communities, along with the team from Faith Foundation, we have consult with one of the special educator who can help and interpret with this disability person. After a conversation with a special educator, this male person is willing to came back to the village. Then another case that we have taken with a child, with one of the child with disability, with a child which having intellectual disability, and this is the case that some of the not so the Asha and the Akanwadi from the community have tried her way to get some help to her child, but because of some situation we never know, but he came to and contact us the youth to get help, to ask help from us. But we as the youth have no much idea how to know about this authorities where we can help, where we can get the scheme and the help from for this disability. But we as the youth, after we hear about this case, we have a conversation with the teammate Faith Foundation. Then after we have a conversation from Faith Foundation, from Faith Foundation has contact with some eyes some hospital with deal with eye care, and after some time we can have a conservation. Then we from the team of Faith Foundation have a contact with block development officer, and after this situation, we as the youth, we go and meet once again with the parents of this child and ask them to go and meet this authority. And this is a 3 action that we have taken as a youth, youth from the community. And also we actually practice how to help other also. And this, I hope that this is only from my side, and thank you.
Thank you, Riban. Thank you so much for taking us through the steps of youth ownership of change, from dream building to self-assessments and action by youth. Very, very inspiring. And thank you to all of our speakers today. We are running a little short on time. So we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. So feel free to please type your questions for our speakers in the chat box. And please do share who the question is for.
Kulsoom, the speakers, I think, answered the questions in the chat.
Sure. Okay, that sounds great. Let's do that. And in the interest of time, I would like to invite Titos Escueta, the Capacity Development Advisor for Global Fund for Children, to help us wrap up with the conclusion of today's session. In the meantime, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and our speakers will answer them on chat. Over to you, Titos.
Thanks, Kulsoom. And thanks to all the partners for all of the sharing. It's really challenging to wrap up such a rich discussion like this, but thanks for really being open and sharing your learnings and challenges. I think openness is the beginning of any change. Yeah. So, and in the final analysis, we're all in this boat to change the world. I think there's nothing more profound and challenging as transformation. Over the last hour and a half, I think we've been talking about power shifting in MEL. But I think we'd be remiss, we'd really miss the boat if we limit ourselves to only talking of MEL and power shifting. This is MEL and power shifting is necessary, but not sufficient if we really want, transformational change. Power shifting should really be inherent in every step and stage in the developmental cycle. Each has to be transformed into a space for co-creation. The dreaming, planning, implementation, reflecting, learning, adapting. I mean, these are all should be shared, co-owned spaces. I think that should be our transformational aspiration, a developmental process that is really equitable, co-created, and owned. This said, in any developmental stage process, including MEL, I think we have to always ask 2 key questions to ourselves. The first is, what is it for? What is the process for? And then the second is, who is it for? I think for what is it for, the incomplete or maybe incorrect answer is really, it's for compliance. Or maybe, even saying that it's just for learning or for adapting is limited, because actually the question here of what it's for is for bringing about systemic change towards, practice, policy, ways of working, attitude change, belief changes. It's really big change that sees change in how the world works. Yeah. So we have to always remember that. Think big in terms of what is it for. The second question that we have to ask is, who is it for? Again, this is more obvious when we talk about transformational change. Everybody says definitely not for the donor. Yeah, but we can contest this. But I think the incomplete answers are the donor, the organization and its systems, even the community. If we can't just say that it's for any 1 or 2 of these. In the end, who it's for is for everyone. I think we really have to go beyond linear accountability of just moving upward or downward. This is really all about mutual, cross-circular accountability. I don't know, my English is my second language. I'm just inventing these as we go. But, where a situation is where everyone is an owner and is accountable for and to each other. This is the transformational change, right? This kind of relationships. And I think in lieu of, again, of summing up, happily, there are already a lot of building blocks and experiences that we've been talking about over the last hour. And these can be the start for all of us as practitioners to guide our actions in terms of designing programs or implementing programs. I don't know, let me try to capture a few while running. One, I think trust, support, engage, and let go. I think these are key in terms of how we transfer or shift power. Relationships are the foundation for any ownership and any systemic type of change. This is probably the most important and difficult and long-term step in terms of what we all are in trying to do in the development stage. So second, and it was, we saw a few of our presenters say this today, it's the aim is to facilitate, not direct outputs or processes. There's always that temptation. It's the easy way, I think, as one of our presenters saying, I didn't want to do it because I was so comfortable in just doing, the script. That's the easy way. But the key here is to provide space, but also help build the capacity to engage and claim that space. It's not just to invite people to participate in a previously defined task, but really help people to meaningfully engage those spaces. So that's second. Third, providing space to dream and appreciate is important. It's paramount, I think. People say that if you don't know where you're going, any road will do, right? So we have to know where we're going, and we have to dream big. But we also have to be appreciative of where we are and that the road is long. Yeah, and most organizations and people as individuals forget the importance of this kind of big dream. And often we limit ourselves to loud frames and small output changes. Yeah, we limit the change if we do this. So yeah, don't be afraid to dream. I think that's the learning. Fourth, next, reflect, adapt, and learn. We need to go beyond the linear and traditional program cycle. We have to stop, reflect, and celebrate as often as we can. But we also realize that we should challenge our own beliefs and our own power, because we do hold power. And we should always remember that the goal of these things, again, like I mentioned, is really to change things. It's not to comply and keep them the same. That defeats the purpose. We need to be very reflective where we are on the road. Yeah, and this is really important because everybody is busy, and this busy work prevents us from doing proper reflections. We have to realize that reflection and learning is part of the change project. It's not an additional task. I think what the next one is really about what Riban was mentioning about messiness. And we have to engage diversity. It's always a challenge to engage diversity because it's messy. It's human nature to go the easy way. But this is foundational. We have to engage diversity because it's foundational for ownership. This allows us to make ripples beyond our small spaces. Putting divergent ideas together is really the starting point of any innovation. I think the last point is really about that I heard from people is really about empathy, mindfulness, self-awareness, and how these are all important. Yes, we all hold power, and power is not evil. Power is just something. It's a thing that we have to be wary about. But we have to make sure that we're wielding it in a positive manner. Readiness to find that we are also sometimes wrong. We are always caught up in changing others that we forget that we should be changing ourselves. That we're also playing sometimes a negative role in that power structure. We have to listen intently and observe, and we have to go back to the first point. I think that we made, being open to whatever change the form might take. Because as we help create change, as one of the presenters said, so are we changed. This is real transformation. So I think that's, a sprint on some of the points that I heard. And thanks again for the opportunity to be a witness to the steps of and changes in your organizations that you're journeying towards. So thanks, Kulsoom.
Thanks, Titos. Thanks for such a great wrap up and summary of today's session. I'll pass it over to Madhuka Leana Gamage, who's the coordinator for Asia Pacific Evaluation Association, for closing remarks.
Thank you, Kulsoom. Today we have come to the end of our 33rd Appearance SLEvA webinar. And it has been very fascinating webinar today where we heard from community leaders. So on behalf of all our partners, I would like to thank all our speakers today, Peacefully, Anuradha, Dhiraj, Vikrant, Riban, and Titos. And also thank you very much, Kulsoom, for your excellent moderation today. And special thank goes to Ritu B. Nanda, who's the team leader of community ownership team of APIA, and who's at the backstage today. We thank her for all her support and hard work to make this webinar happen today. Thank you very much, Ritu. And also, I would like to thank the organizing team from APIA and SLEvA, including President of APIA, Dr. Sela Kalugampitia. And last, not the least, I would like to thank all our participants today. And today we had a great participation. Around 100 participants around the world participated today. So thank you very much for your active participation. And it's the biggest motivation to us to organize many more webinars in future. And would like to invite you to join with us for our next webinars also. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Madhuka, and please find information on the next series of webinars coming up, which is Asia Pacific's Virtual Winter School for Young and Emerging Evaluators from December 8th to 10. You'll find the link to apply on this slide, and do reach out to EvalYouth for further questions. And with that, thank you so much for joining us today. Special thanks to the speakers. Have a great rest of your day or evening.